sure we get enough time to get to the gauge section of what we're planning to talk about. So Office of Inclusion and Diversity to Office of Equity. So if you all notice, if you've been here a while, earlier this year we did transition out of changing our name from Office of Inclusion and Diversity to Office of Equity. That was on our own merit. This is ringing. So just in case it's an emergency, I want you to address it. We did transition our names from Office of Inclusion and Diversity to Office of Equity, being that it was just a shorter term. Our shorter terminology, but it encompassed all that we do. We want to ensure that we are breaking barriers in the workplace, addressing inequities that may be occurring. Inclusion is definitely and always a practice of ours that we uplift, that we help our leaders uplift. And we also want to ensure that diversity is present and prevalent here at our organization, but that comes naturally. Equity was just a word that encompassed all that we do. Our inclusion and diversity efforts in no way, shape, form, or fashion changed or decreased. We just kind of pivoted in name, and it was shorter. Inclusion and diversity had to be in all of our titles. I know Shay appreciates her short name, so that was the reason why we did it. But our efforts, our drive to ensure that you have the best employee experience in no way, shape, or form changed, just our name. So when you see that Office of Equity, that is us. If you see something with IND that's a little older, that still is us. So meet our team, us. So we have Shaylin Jackson, our Chief Equity Officer, right over there, me. Our inclusion specialist, and then we have Emma Wininski, who's a part of our team. She is our HRC compliance officer, and we'll go more into what the actual HRC is in a bit, but she's over that, as well as some awesome special programs and awesome big initiatives that we're doing citywide. So she oversees a lot of that. So do you want to speak to anything particular, Shay, about your role? No worries. So vision, the vision of our office, to position the city of Oklahoma City as the most equitable employer and community of choice for all, right? That is what we envision for what our office does, what we embed and ingrain in the city and all of our interactions and all of our meetings, and what we are kind of leading the charge with, and even with our top leadership from the city manager on down. Mission, to advance equity by removing barriers. I forget I need to talk to the mics. To advance equity by removing barriers and investing in our greatest asset, people. So you all, right? A lot of what we've done for the last 3 years has been internal, and there's still a lot of things we still need to address because we want to ensure that your employee experience continues to evolve into something great. And you all are our biggest asset, and we want to ensure that we all know that. And even things like the Gauge and a lot of our programs show us pouring into our assets, which is you all. Values, championing a culture of care. That is what we hope to instill, kind of the slogan and a synopsis of what we do. Leading connection. A lot of what we do is centered around connection. When we go through our programs, when we go through our own pillars of what we do, connection is honestly meat and potatoes a lot of what we do. Because when you know folks, you know the things that they go through, you tend to care. But when you don't know, it's hard to, make that connection. Access to leadership, like Mentor Circles provides us, and things of that nature. Access to professional development, access to organizational knowledge, all those kind of things. Responsibility, right? Even though we do the DEI work of the city, it is something we all have a piece of. We all contribute every day in how we treat each other and how we uplift the missions of ensuring that everybody belongs in the organization. We all have a responsibility here at the organization to lead this charge. Not necessarily us, we're here to help and to drive that, but it is something that we all play a part in every day, because we cannot be everywhere, okay? And lastly, empathy. Of course, the idea of extending ourselves beyond our own experience and understanding what others go through, because we may not can relate with everything and every experience in every department of every team, but it is on us to ensure that we are understanding of where folks are coming from, and ensuring that we are not diminishing their experiences, but uplifting it enough to try our best to understand what that experience might look like, and using whatever power and influence we can to make it better. Any questions so far? Just a bunch of words, got it? So getting into our goals. So strengthening the workforce awareness about engagement with our office, right? We want to ensure that folks know who we are. That's the biggest thing, right? From trainings, from engagement, from these programs, like Mentor Circles, we want to ensure that they are aware that we are present in what we do and how it impacts and how it can improve their employee experience, right? That comes from our training, our engagement opportunities with field folks. We have some representation from our public works group today. We're branching out into further offering opportunities to those field employees, because they are also wanting access to these things, and we want to ensure that we're doing all we can to break those barriers. With our training and development, we'll go through a few of our trainings that we have later on, but those things, as well as our ambassadors and things that we do through different things. We have like our Willow folks and folks that are mentor support folks that are, we may not have the official ambassador title, but they truly lead on the charge beyond our reach that we can always make. As well as our communication strategy, showing, ensuring that folks, like I said, know who we are, what we do, and how we want to support and uplift their employee experience here at the city, as well as our residents, which kind of trickles out.
I'll say that tied to the last one of the things I have to do is give a shout out to Christy Yeager's team. When we think about championing a culture of care and the R when it comes to responsibility, they're one of our biggest champions, and really, they are an example of what it looks like to be an extension of our team. They try to look through an equity lens through all things. He told me I had one rule. I'm sorry, Chuck, wherever you are. So Christy Yeager's team tries to ensure that they integrate equity through everything that they do, whether we're a part of the conversation or not. And that's what that looks like. We shouldn't have to be in the room, us or Emma, for equity to be considered. And Christy Yeager, they're one of the people that do it very, very well. Really, because day one, that's not like a slight at anyone, just day one, they were like one of the first groups that I knew it was a priority to make a relationship with, because communication is like so important to our equity work. So that is how carrying out the R in care, what that looks like.
Awesome. So demonstrating leadership commitment and accountability to promote equitable and inclusive workplaces. So honestly, we have I wish we could, speak to it all, but we have so many meetings. Shay alone has so many meetings with our leadership teams across departments, across the city manager's office alone, about the different ways that we integrate inclusion and equity into all the things, right? There are so many conversations that are happening, so many things that you may not even notice, whether small tweaks or big tweaks that are happening from our leadership teams and our department directors leaning in and bringing our office in to say, hey, how can we make this better? Hey, are there any areas that we may not be noticing that could be inequitable? So those are things that we truly adore about our leadership here at the city, because they truly are bringing us into the conversation, because it's not always just an explicit I&D or an equity thing. It's ensuring that we're embedding in all that we do in every area of the city, and our leadership teams are truly reaching out to us to do that. The Gauge has been the biggest driver of that, but still, there are policy things we look over. There are plans, procedures, and things of that nature that they bring us to the table for to get because they care, right? They want to ensure that they aren't doing anything that could be harmful, even with positive intent, and our leadership is doing that, whether they're on our equity council, which we'll talk about, but they truly are doing that. They're allowing Shay and our team to hold them accountable to certain things, and not that we're doing anything that is aggressive or malice, just that, hey, is this something that meets the mark? Is this something, are we doing this in the right way? And they continue to do that over and over again, which we have to applaud. And even if it's just allowing their teams to go to things like this, right? Allowing their employees to be a part of, to step away from work, because we know that work is spread thin. We all are busy at all times, but they're supporting us and supporting you all enough to attend these things, to be present for the last 12 months, and things like that are also all things that we want to ensure that they're continuing to do, and we give them a kudos for allowing and uplifting these equitable opportunities for you all.
So what I like to say tied to this one is, a lot of times people feel like employees not seeing us every day means that the Office of Equity is not necessarily working, not physically working, but like, are we being equitable? But the truth is, we, like Jackie said earlier, can't be in all places and shouldn't have to be in all places. I always tell people that our profession is probably one of the only ones that we wish people would love us out of a job. Like, be so inclusive and equitable that we don't have to have these conversations, right? And so what does that look like? I will never forget, one of my favorite stories is when a department head called me and said, can I take you to lunch so we can argue? And I'm like, we've never argued, what are you talking about? And he was like, I know we're not gonna argue, but I know we are gonna disagree, and I would love to know your thoughts so we can try to find a common ground. That's beautiful, because you don't have to necessarily agree alike to love alike, but to know that it's a safe place, that our office is a safe place to say, I know that we fundamentally don't agree, so could we try to find a common ground to accomplish what we need to accomplish, but in a way that feels good to our employees. That comes with trust, though. So a lot of our time is spent, especially my time is spent building trust when it comes to the leadership team so that they feel comfortable asking, hey, I know that this is a barrier. Could you help us remove this barrier in an equitable way? And they're able to be vulnerable, right? To say, I don't know the answer, but I do know that what we're doing is not working or what we're doing is not the answer. And so that's one of the biggest wins is really like knowing that we're really building relationships with them. And then I'll give a shout out to my team. I'm really proud of Jackie and Emma. They're really leaning into more of a consultant space. And so even them being a part of those conversations with me not there. But that just shows you like really our reach and our trust that people are now like really the leaders, like department heads are calling them to say, hey, can you come help? So I'm really proud of them for that as well. Because that is the stuff that sometimes can feel like it takes longer, but that's how relationships work, right? If we're doing the easy, quick things, that's more performative than it is actually getting into the nitty-gritty to actually try to impact systems and figure out ways to make it equitable for every single human, regardless of our background.
Yes.
I'm just gonna go ahead and take the next one because it's another shout out from my team. No. Go back.
Oh,
the next bullet.
Go.
We don't have to go bullet by bullet, but who in here knows about the Inclusive Leadership Excellence Program? You gotta know about you're smiling because you know about the program, Justin. You do know, you helped us when we first got here, Justin. So this is a huge win, and it's been around. Even though a memo just came out maybe like 3 weeks ago, it's been around. So before I got here and in the DEI space, this is huge. Even my peers are like, what? Before I got here, Craig and Amy, our CHRO, said all leaders, if you are a division manager and above, at the time that's what it was, if you are division managers and above, you have to have 6 hours of DEI training, which that's a win because most times leadership does not require any kind of training. Here's the thing though, it is not a good practice in the DEI space to specify which DEI training is required because usually people resist when they hear required, right? So instead of saying you will take this one training, when I came, what I said was, first of all, thank you that you have this requirement, but let's make sure it's accessible and something that everyone can accomplish in a way that they can lean in and feel good about, right? So I'm not making you come to a training that you quote unquote can't stand, but what we're doing is meeting people where they are and gradually allowing them to move through a process with us because we're not all in the same place. So now what it is, the memo that just came out, actually backing up a year. A year ago, HR rolled out performance evaluations for different pay bands, right? Well, part of, if you are an executive or in management supervisor, so if you lead people, you have to meet an inclusive leadership competency, which is another win. Usually DEI is not a part of conversations like that in organizations. Well, now what we're saying is to fulfill that competency, leverage our Inclusive Leadership Excellence Program. So now leaders, really anybody, but leaders can go in Oracle Learning and find a whole catalog of ways that they can achieve their 6 hours. So I'm not gonna tell you what book you have to read, but I am gonna give you a list of approved books. I'm not telling you what movie you have to watch. You might not even wanna watch a movie. You might not wanna watch a book. But a lot of times, even our mentors that are mentors for you all, they get a number of credit hours for even doing this because what they're doing is achieving the A in our values to say, I'm gonna give people access to me. And really what they say every year is, I probably learned more from them than they did from me. They're so humble, we love them so much. And so just wanted to give a shout out there because the team worked really hard. Emma oversees it, but Jackie and Emma do a great job at partnering and really saying like, how do we keep these resources up to date? And so I really say y'all should go out there and look at the resources. We also do say that if you have any that you want to recommend or leaders can even, so we've had like Melinda in Parks, she has went to conferences, came back and said, I sat through this D&I session, could I get credit? We do not want to make it hard for people. Yes, you can get credit. Thank you so much for attending a DEI session while you were at a conference when you could have picked a number of things to talk about, right? But those are the things that we're trying to influence without saying you better take this one training and then making people resist. It's about really showing them that this is about a number of things, not just that one thing that the news may have told you about. Does that make sense? Any questions related to that? No? All right, you can go to the next one. Sorry about that. This is such a big win.
Cultivate a culture of authenticity and belonging, advancement, and access, right? So oversee departments and managing of business resource groups. So we kind of have our version of that with our Willow group. So they are awesome. If you've seen Willow around, please engage with their awesome activities. Please sign up. Their leadership application is open right now, so check that out. And we'll touch on them a little later, but they are one, as well as our support with NFBPA, so the National Forum for Black Public Administrators. So things of that nature, right? So certain things that we are working towards getting more groups available, but we want to take our time and make sure we get it right. So there isn't like a push out of 6 different identity-based groups, but we are getting it right now, and Willow is knocking the ball all the way out the park.
Before you shift, there's so many allies in here. Allies are needed in both groups.
Right.
So a lot of times, and this is not specific to the city, a lot of times, say women's group, men will say, that's so exclusive. No, it's not, because they want and need you in the group. Like, they legit need you in the group, because how can we help each other if we don't know what the problems are of other people? Even the National Forum of Black Public Administrators, you do not have to be Black to be a part of that group. So please know that we need all people to be a part of these groups, and it is true that different identities have different needs, right? And so we have a women's group, so we can talk about the needs of women, and men can either hear. Men have sisters and mothers and aunts and daughters in their lives. They're leading women, right? And a number of our men have said, this content is for me, right? They did a Finance Your Future session, and like men were just taking notes. Nagesh was our only man that was in the last session that they had. And would you say, Nagesh, that you got a lot out of it? It was amazing. It was recorded. We had a guest speaker, Sandra Quince, last week, I think. But we need people to show up because, man, is there so much to get out of it for all people. So that is one myth that I really need help busting because this is not exclusionary. This is really about how do we elevate the needs of certain people. And I've had men say, well, I have needs too. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Our office is here for everyone. So do not feel that you can't come to us with your need if you're not a woman or you're not, you don't identify with NFBPA. They need you in the rooms, and we do have allies that are coming out feeling like they are that much stronger of allies and just professionals themselves when they attend these things.
For sure. And lastly, the promoting psychologically safe spaces so that folks can encourage employees to bring their best selves to work. We want to ensure that all aspects of yourself that you need to do your best job are present. Can you bring them, right? It changes from person to person, from day to day, but are they all welcome, supported, seen, valued, and heard in your team, in your workspace, in your department, and here at the city? So that's really what we want to uplift here, and that comes with folks living in their authenticity and feeling like they belong here at the city, right? And lastly, the opportunities to increase cultural humility and build relationships. Back to that connection piece, that C of care, because we all want to be understood, and when you know folks, you tend to understand them better and things like that, like we said. So those are all things that we have lived through various programs. That's typically the one that is ingrained in a lot of things, but it's something that you all even get in your mentor circle groups, right? You have people that you have met with monthly for the last 12 months, and we hope that you've learned something from each other, and you continue to build that relationship and advance in knowing them and reaching out to them and things of that nature. Please do that. Sometimes folks sidebar, we do our sidebars. When this program ends, you do not need the Office of Equity to reach out to your group. Sometimes folks feel like they need a calendar invite from us to reach out to their folks and connect. Just reach out. Just ask folks for lunch. How do we keep this going? Just reach out. You have access to them. They're probably in the directory. Please continue to reach out. Sometimes folks feel like, well, this program ended, so now I can't. You don't. You can. So please continue to have those relationships outside of a formal program, because I'm sure they also would love to go to lunch with you or have a coffee with you or chat about the workspace with you. So please continue to do that. That is a part of our mission, that these relationships continue on without us driving them.
We had a group for Let's Do Lunch. Let's Do Lunch is not done on the clock. But they started meeting regularly for Bible study. I want to be very clear. That's not the part that I'm pushing. What I'm pushing is they started meeting. It's not on the clock. It's during lunch. But that's the part of relationships, right? Now they have relationships in a way that they never had, all because they said yes and came to this lunch. So you all can do it, and we encourage it, because as cool as we like to think we are, we cannot organize all the socials. But you all can stay in touch with each other.
Influencing equitable policies, procedures, and processes, right? So we partner, HR is typically, even in organizations, IND team would be under HR, but we're not, but we work hand in hand with HR on so many projects, so many things. So we work with them often about different things from employment policies, right? They'll see what we think about that, to trainings and developments. We honestly work hand in hand with them because we all both collectively care about the employee experience and you staying here and enjoying your time at the city. So it comes with so many different things that we wish even would crank out a little faster so folks could see reap those benefits of certain things. But so many things are happening with that.
Jackie, who knows what talent life cycle means? Anybody? So when you see talent life cycle, that means that anyone, but for us, we enhance from recruiting to retirement, meaning that we care about every stage of the employee experience, from retention, development. If you go Google talent life cycle, you can see all that it encompasses, but it really means from the moment that we're trying to get you in the door to the moment that you go home to be with your family more than you are here.
For sure. We mentioned all the examples of kind of being internal partners and consultants, continuously identifying areas of systematic inequalities and working through those with our employees as well as our residents, right? But we like to say we are super internal right now, but if you all are doing your best and at your best, you serve our residents at their best, right? So it trickles this way on down to them, as well as we do very strategic things when the community needs us. And last, with fire and police, we support them. We help them with they have IND committees, they have efforts even outside of IND labeled things that they bring us in for. So we're awesome partners with them. They are super front facing with our community, and we love and support them in all that they do as well.
Super proud of Emma. This bottom square rectangle thing, it's a rectangle, I don't even know why I said a thing. She is really getting engaged right now to drive how we engage our residents on different things in a strategic way, rather than kind of like, we're sitting here at this one place, we hope that other people start to come. You know what I mean? Like, we're doing these community efforts, I hope you come join us at the library. She's working with different teams to say, how do we really be strategic so that we ensure that there's representation when we are touching the community. And so Emma, she's more external. Jackie is internal. Like, Jackie manages this whole program, so if you liked it, give it up for Jackie. But that's how that bottom rectangle, that's one of the ways that applies.
Analyze and leverage workplace data to assess efficiencies and tell the city's IND story. It just makes sense, right? We want to ensure that the numbers are reflective of not any type of quota numbers, but ensuring that we know who's attending our programs. Like, our numbers at Mentor Circle this year were astronomical, things of that nature, as well as outside of our programs, but who's being promoted, who's being demoted, things of that nature, so that we can address those things. Not to match numbers, not to match quotas or anything of that nature, but to ensure that we are equitable in how things are flowing naturally within our organization, and HR is, of course, hand in hand in that thing.
Who knows what affirmative action means? Who thinks that we have something to do with affirmative action? That's cool for y'all. Society, most of the people in society think that we are about affirmative action when they don't even know all organizations don't even have to have an affirmative action plan, and the city's one of them. So we don't even have to have an affirmative action plan. But when I was hired here, there was someone, long story short, that put it on Facebook, and then they emailed a number of leaders and CC'd me and said, City Manager Craig Freeman hired a bald, black, liberal woman to silence the white voice and to hire a bunch of black people. Yikes, right? But these are the things. I'm bald because I have a disease, not to make a statement. But if we don't build relationships, those are the kind of things that we just sit and make assumptions about, right? I have alopecia. Silence the white voice. I think there's a number of people in the organization and out of the organization that will say that is absolutely incorrect. This is about elevating all voices. But the part that really stung was to hire a bunch of black people. Because when people say things like that, my question is, one, you have to ask yourself what's wrong with hiring black people, if you feel that way. But two, who told you that? There's never been a time that I've went to a leader and said, hey, you need to get your numbers of this identity up. We do not lead through numbers like that, but what numbers do is tell us a story if we're getting it right. Does that make sense? Because when you are, you're so funny. When you are conscious of your numbers, when you are equitable for all people, emphasis on all, those that are diverse, and I'm doing this because where two or more are present, there's diversity. So while the world is like so mad about diversity, diversity is just a fact. It's a noun, it's people. If there's two people, they are diverse. Maybe the same race, but we don't know their socioeconomic background, sexual orientation, religion. There's a number of things that make us who we are. And so I'm saying that, and I know it's like, whoa, is this the things that she's saying? We need people like you all to help debunk some of these myths, right? Because there's never been a time that I've looked at numbers and been like, hey, you're slacking here. And when you look at numbers and think about retention, year over year, is your turnover down according to different groups? If so, that means that you are creating a culture where all people feel that they can come and thrive, and they're telling their friends and families and the people that are good workers to come work here because it's a place where everybody, emphasis on everybody thrives. Does that make sense? There's no one group that we look to ostracize. That's not how we do the work. That's not who I am. Even my values, that is not who I am at my core. I think that way of doing the work is very gross, to pick a group and ostracize a group. Really, it's about elevating all people, and the fact is we need different things to succeed. But I like to say that about numbers because even though y'all in here didn't feel it, so thank you so much, that is usually the narrative around DEI, that we're sitting around looking at a bunch of numbers and telling people to go hire a bunch of people of certain identities. Never have I ever done that in my career.
Not us, folks, not us, not us at all. Serve as a community resource and strengthen external partnerships to advance equity citywide. She touched on that with our with Emma and her efforts. She continues to drive that in our office, and she does awesome with that. With our HRC, which is our Human Rights Commission, as well as our transparency with those diverse groups. Shay kind of touched on it already, as well as kind of our cross-cultural connections, right? Our city, not even just as an employer, but our city as a place to live, is diverse. So we want to ensure that we're also meeting those needs and supporting them as they need us to.
One myth tied to this, as Jackie goes to the next one, is we had nothing to do with the HRC coming aboard. But people think that we pushed that. It was already in the works years before I even got here. And once the council approved it, like I wasn't even a part of the task force, in the charter for the HRC, or in the ordinance, I'm sorry, it requires there to be a compliance officer. And it only makes sense that it's in our office. But our office is not what initiated that. If you go back and look at the timing, I was not even here. I lived in Arkansas. But a lot of people think that we came up with that, and we did not. We support it, but we did not come up with that.
Yes, so the actual HRC, or Human Rights Commission, they work with the local agencies and law enforcement to promote human rights and refer complaints. So they mediate those complaints, alleged violations of housing, employment, and public accommodations. And they also have different pillars or values that they stand on with, like education and ensuring that they're informing the community. And they've had some awesome speakers that they have. I believe those recordings are out there somewhere for you all to watch. Some awesome speakers like Dr. Henderson, like Dr. Blackburn. So please check those out. They do awesome work, and they are, it is pretty new, right? They were just reinstated a few summers ago, but they're already doing great work, and Emma leads that charge in that. So they are an awesome group. And let's see, what do we have? The next few I'll quickly go through because I hope this isn't new news for y'all. But we do road shows, so we come out with our HR team, with our city manager or city leadership, and we just kind of let them know what's happening in the city. We know that communication, even the gauge shows us that communication is something that we all want to ensure that we are fully informed about what's going on in the organization. So the road shows allow us to come out, let folks know what's going on in the HR department, what's going on at a city level. So Laura is our assistant city manager, but all the assistant city managers are Craig, the city manager, will come up and tell folks about what is happening in the city, from what they talk about here on Tuesdays to the arena. It's really awesome to know, like, to hear firsthand what's going on and what they can tell you about, right? As well as to ask questions. That's really the biggest part, the most engaging part of the time, is to say, hey, I have the top leadership here at the organization. I have my leader here. Ask your questions, right? And folks get those questions answered. It can get a lot of things debunked in that time. It is just an awesome time to say we have kind of geared it towards the field, just because that can be where the communication gap happens the most, but we are trickling more and more. So if you have not seen us in your department at a road show or at a employee meeting, we plan to be there out soon, or let me know. But it's really an awesome time to just hear from leadership, as well as to get some questions answered that you may not have directly from Shay or Amy, our CHRO, or the city manager. Mentor circles. Y'all know about mentor circles? Y'all familiar with that, right? So this has been going on for our 3 years. We're excited about it. We had about 120 applicants this year, which is great. It's really just a time for you to meet with your mentor, right? Know about some things, learn some soft skills. It is not necessarily here to kind of uptick your career in any formal way, right? It's not going to necessarily lead to any version of a promotion or anything like that. But we hope that you gain some skills that you can take back to say, I have grown as a professional and I've grown in my organizational knowledge and all those things. So I won't go into all the spiel about mentor circles because I hope you all know what it is by now, but that's pretty much the judge of what we hope you get from your time here the last few months.
And I'll say promotions aren't guaranteed,
Right.
but as you develop, hopefully, if you desire to promote, it does equal promotions because we're helping with those things and you're building the right relationships. We've had people, so Mentor Circles was the first program that I even rolled out when I got here, and people were like, why would you care about Mentor Circles? It's the A and the C. Really, it's all of it when it comes to care, but people are being able to build connections and get access to different leaders and even get access to different departments that they didn't know about. And we've had people transfer all based on someone that they met in this program. Like, wow, I want to know more about, I even think there's someone that transferred here. Didn't you transfer, Jennifer?
Look at
See?
an example.
And causation or correlation, I just know, wasn't LaShawn your mentor? And then she's like, I want to get over there to courts. There's some cool things happening, right? And so those are the things that we hope that people are like, man, I can do almost anything at the city. I don't have to leave where I'm at if I don't feel fulfilled. I can go somewhere else, and I know of other places I can go because of the relationships that I've built.
Yeah. So some of our trainings, like we mentioned, learning and development, our American Dream Experience training, we hope you all have been through that. As we are kind of wrapping up that sector of our training experience, we'll lose that license here at the end of this calendar year. But we do have Inclusion Reimagined. Shay is always at those nuts and bolts trainings. If you haven't done that, that's awesome plug for HR. Those are awesome trainings, especially if you're our supervisor or looking to be a supervisor. Our inclusion hiring practices, so we do that training, talking about kind of the biases of ensuring that folks are kind of removing those as they go through the hiring process as best we can. And then, like I said, our American Dream Experience. So we do offer some trainings as well as our ILE, which we facilitate and think, which we offer as a resource. So we want to ensure that folks are leaning in where you feel comfortable when you want to learn more about IND, and sometimes it's not even stereotypically IND. Communicating effectively is IND, right? The skills that you've talked about the last few months, imposter syndrome, personal branding, those things are things we want to ensure that you instill, which aren't on paper IND identity based, but it's still something that could allow you better access and a better professional posture that you may not have before.
If you're a leader in here, you should hit Jackie up for American Dream Experience because it is going away in December, and people are getting on our calendars internally and externally because our contract allows us to do it for nonprofits locally too. So, dun. If you're a leader, or even if you're not a leader but you want, Jackie usually hosts like general sessions that you can find on the HR calendar.
City's Best. So quickly to touch on this, from the Gauge, actually, folks wanted recognition. And we have Kiwanis Employee of the Month, but Kiwanis is an external company or external organization that chooses to celebrate our city employees, which is awesome. But we didn't have anything that was just for the organization internally. So folks, peer-to-peer, can submit employees that they believe did something extraordinary, right? They are doing their best at city, going above and beyond their city work, and doing awesome things for our city that it supports us and allows us to do better services, right? So City's Best is something it's on a link in the e-news and it is on the Inside OKC. Check it out. I believe some Public Works winners are here from this past quarter.
You won in here. Stand up for us.
Yes, please do. Right? Our Public Works folks just recently won. So we appreciate them and their awesome work. So it's literally meant for folks to acknowledge each other. Our big drive in recognition is that it does not always have to come from the top. Sometimes credit cannot come to everybody every day and say you did a great job. You all see each other's work every day. You know that they are busting their butts and doing an awesome job. Celebrate each other in this way, right? From this formal program to just saying you're doing great, right? So City's Best, please submit some names and some instances you'd like to shout your coworkers out for.
I'm not a begging person, but I do ask, please. Rhonda is probably like our superstar. Rhonda submits so many people. She's not the only one with great colleagues doing great things. So
right, please check it out. If you can't find the link, email us at equityokc.gov. But you and people you know are doing great work. Please submit some stuff.
But make sure that they do their job. Because we all come to do their job. And Jackie does weed through some of those. It's like, man, that person comes to work on time every day, which is really great. But please, 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 when you catch your colleagues doing great things, reach out to Jackie to see how you can submit it.
We won't dive too deep into Willow and MVB. We already gave you our spill on those, but check those groups out. Willow always has something going on in their applications out. I think on the next eNews to Know, you'll see that. And I believe Friday they have in their Q&A for their leadership application and committee member application. So check that out if you need the calendar invite. EquityOKC.gov, we'll figure to get that to you. But Friday, if you want to learn more about kind of what holding a position in Willow looks like, Friday that's happening, so please reach out and we can get you that calendar invite and get you more information because we want you there. They're doing awesome stuff if you haven't already got on board. Equity Council, go ahead.
Equity Council. So a lot of times organizations will call it their D&I Council, Diversity Council. Ours is called the Equity Council. This is a group that was already meeting before I got here, but it looked different. At the end of the day, what's going to end up happening is it's going to be like a diverse in terms of levels. But what I know from my experience in DEI is if we put frontline or individual contributors into a room with Craig and Craig says, this is my expectation, it's intimidating and almost sometimes feels impossible if they're then responsible for going back and convincing leaders of what to do, right? Those leaders need to hear from Craig first. And so right now, this is the first year that almost all of our department heads are on it because it's a phased approach. They have, it's 3 years and they're rotating on and off. But eventually it's gonna be, go through the organization and they're sitting together talking about the hard stuff. Our last meeting was amazing because we're really diving in even when it comes to where are we trying to go as a culture and what is it really gonna take to get there even when it's hard and even when it feels like it's not necessarily what we do every day, but it definitely aligns with our characters, our character, and the behaviors that we want to see, especially in leaders, to ensure that they're taking good care of our people. I have a motto that when you take care of our people take care of our people. So when we take care of our employees take care of our residents. So we are having those conversations to say, how do we better take care of our employees, and what tough decisions do we have to make? So it's pretty cool, and Craig chairs it. Craig said, I'm never not gonna chair it. So thanks, Craig, for not never chairing it. So the vice chair is what rotates. And so this year it is Chief Kelly. LaShawn, ACM LaShawn was our inaugural vice chair. Chief Kelly is our vice chair now, and then Brent will be our next vice chair next year.
Gauge stuff. Okay, we'll just go into, because I don't believe we have anything else. So we'll quickly go into the gauge. That's what we want to spend our last few minutes on. No, I think you have to do it over there.
So I changed this on Jackie at the last minute. I said I want to take the opportunity to really allow people to talk about the gauge, because what we realized is that we're in year 3 and people still either don't trust it, which totally understand it, or they just don't understand it, right? We get people that say all the time, these questions are stupid. I respect that you feel that way. And let's talk about it, and let's talk about how they're very, very smart, coming from social scientists at Gallup that's been doing this for over 90 years. And I say that because we're so fortunate that leadership really invests in the best of the best to lead us on this journey. There's some organizations that it would be our responsibility to do it, and while I think that we're great, I'm not a social scientist. I don't even have the technical capabilities, and if we owned it, it wouldn't be confidential, right? Because it would be in-house. But because Gallup owns it, it is confidential. So those are different things that allows for this to be just a great experience if you all go on this journey with us. So this is the portal. I am one of 5 administrators, so anything that people say that we can see, you're able to see what we can see. So if you want to, the only thing you're not going to be able to see is the comments. Only department heads can see the comments unless they give people permission to see the comments. So won't be able to do that. But if you will go to reports, we're going to look at our city-wide report because Craig is okay with people being in his business. Before we get started, just because of time, what are some of the questions or the myths or the beliefs that we could help? Actually, I'm so sorry. We just talked almost 45 minutes, and y'all might have had questions about other stuff. Anything so far that you have questions related to? Our programs? Anything you learned? Did you learn more about our department and what we have going on in that corner downstairs? Is it maybe surprisingly different than what some people would have thought, if you're willing to be honest? You didn't know? I don't know. I can't say what it used to be like, but I can tell you with me here, We will never. We will never, and I don't think they ever said it, but if the sentiment ever felt like that, sorry, but know that I even want men to apply to be on the leadership team. Because this is not my first rodeo with resource groups. That's actually how I got started in DEI, and there's so much power in knowing and being in the room together. So thank you for that, Rhonda. Anybody else? Any questions about what we've said so far? Anything you want to throw tomatoes at? I also am a huge believer at knowing how to disagree respectfully. And we have to be able to practice that because healthy conflict is actually what we need, whether it's at home or at work. When done well, we progress, rather than people just walking away mad because they don't feel it's a safe place to say, I disagree with this, or I don't think that that's true, or whatever. So if there's anything, even if you don't want to do it here, because we don't practice it well as a culture, so I know you may not feel comfortable doing it in this room, let's stay afterwards or reach out to me another time, because I want everyone to really feel comfortable saying, can you dive more into this because I disagree, or could you tell me more about why in the world y'all would care about this because I don't even see how it aligns with what you do. So if something gave you heartburn, talk to me about it.
Go ahead,
All
Sasha.
right, any
Sasha.
questions related? Oh, what'd you say? Go ahead.
How do you make sure that you have the right people at the table?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes people are too easy, or there's some resistance, like the people that you walk to the table, they
Yeah.
might not be able to be
Yeah.
there. How do you make sure?
Yeah.
How do you encourage or?
So I think that it is all about one, depending on what table we're talking about. Tables are different, right? I'm saying that because people love to say DEI is about ensuring people have a spot at the table. Don't give me a spot at the table if I can't talk. If my voice is not gonna be heard, don't be performative and just invite me in the room, right? That's for anybody. It does not matter your race, religion, sexual orientation, gender. We all have something to share, right? As far as our conversations, it's all relational. The first year that I got here, outside of going away and having a baby and coming back, I've literally poured into relationships. We cannot do this work alone. And there's a philosophy in the D&I space that I love to follow. There's your movable middle, which is where most people are. They're in the movable middle. They're just I got to see what they're talking about. I got to see. There's the early adopters that's put me in the game, coach. I don't even really know what we're doing. Kind of like Justin. Justin was sure, let me help you with technology. I don't even know let's do it, right? And so Justin helped us with ILE before we had some other resources. And then there's the people that never plan on getting on board. While I personally don't spend a lot of energy there, what I do try to assure people is we're doing it for them too, because we are all better whenever we have D&I. So there's some people I'm not gonna beg to come to the table, but man, am I opening the door because I want them to know that they have a spot at the table too. So one of the ways that we do that is things like this. There's been a number of people that's went through our programs that said because of the mentor circles, I see myself as a part of this program as well, rather than this program being against me, right? It's really about extending grace and care and patience to let people grow with you than to be you need to get in here, you need to listen to me right now, you need to da-da-da-da-da-da, right? That is not how we operate. It'll never be a part of our philosophy. But it does sometimes feel like it's slow for people because they don't know on the back end we're nurturing relationships. So for ours, it's all about relationships. Does that make sense? I don't like to lead with can you make this mandatory? Can you make this? Can you make this? Because how many people, we are grown adults. How many people want to be made to do something? It might sound real good and you slap mandatory on and I don't want nothing to do with it now. You know what I mean? So hopefully that helps. And then there's different things where it's if we're going to affect you, we want you in the room. So there's different things that's going on where we're have we talked to the frontline people? You're doing this thing for utilities. Have you asked the people that's going to be doing it every single day? I can't promise that it's happening, but we're definitely asking those questions. You're doing this thing for animal welfare. Have you asked the people that's going to be doing it every day? And not just employees, but residents. So that goes into what Emma's doing and building the strategy and how we ensure that we diversify. Who are we, accepting, allowing in, and we want people that don't agree with us. While I think I'm pretty cool, we don't need 10 of me in a room, right? We need people that are diverse, whether it's by diversity of thought, gender, race, religion, it doesn't matter. We need diversity in the room. Who has questions related to the gauge? What has been a thorn in your side? We had a group the other day that was the best friend question, we hate it. Everybody in here still hate it? Okay, let me tell you why we love it. The C in care, connection. Gallup has said time and time again that they understand people are best friend at work, but here's the truth. Gallup said that one time they went ahead and removed best friend and said friend. Y'all, there's a number of people in this room that I consider a friend. So it's easy to check yes to that. You have to think harder, though, if you say best friend. Because best friend to me, while that does not mean pour your heart out to me and tell me everything personal, what it does mean is, do I have someone at work that'll challenge me? Do I have a safe place at work that I can go and just be like, oh, this is getting on my nerves. Okay, I was able to vent. Now let me move on. How do I get to a solution now, right? We are at work too long to feel isolated and not have people that we can trust. So while we are not expecting you to go around calling everybody best friend, even though we make the joke of having Q10s like Chris and Brent and Christy Yeager and Laura Johnson, I call them my Q10s. Question 10 is the best friend question. While we do that, we're not saying use the language. What we're saying is ask yourself, do I have someone in here that I feel deep enough connected to that they help me through my hard times, even if it's just professional, and they challenge me and tell me when I'm wrong. Does that make sense? Because when we have that, remember, healthy conflict is good in an organization. When we have people that's like, you know, even if it's life events, are you going, divorce, things like that, that impacts people's lives and they don't leave it at the door. So do I feel comfortable saying to someone, man, I'm having a really hard time, if you can cover for me because I'm really emotional today? Do you have that safe place? Because man, would it make all the difference in the world when every single one of us has that. Or you may be like, I'm not a crier, I don't want to talk about home. But I bet you there's sometimes your boss gets on your nerves and you want to talk about that. In a safe place, right? It's just true. I just get to talk to my boss about it. I can be like, Laura, let's talk about this, right? But not everybody gets to do that, right? And so that's why Q10 will never go away and why it's really, really important, even if the answer is no, because we know we're not nailing the C. Does that make sense? And does it give a little bit more color to, like, as much as you may hate it and it may feel touchy-feely and almost as if we're saying, are you in love with somebody here, right? Does it make sense of why and why Gallup says we have to specifically use these words? Because it's easy, it's more gray if I say, do you have a buddy here? Go ahead. Yeah.
So when it asks, do you have a best friend in the office, I was like, no, I have a best friend at home, but I have a work best friend.
And so it's, do you have a best friend at work? The answer is yes. If you have a work best friend.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
That's what we have. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't have a best friend at work. I have a best friend at home, but I do have somebody at work that is a work. It's the way the questions work.
And they totally respect it. If y'all still think it's a no, put a 1.
No, okay, the answer was yes, but I think
The wording.
it's the wording of
Yeah.
the question that can.
And I also,
Oh, trust me, I totally get it. Yeah, let me tell you another reason why wording matters. Because thank you for that. What Gallup knows is if you change even one word, they no longer can benchmark it against other organizations that have used that. So they also know that if they change it, because there's a list of questions, so the first 12, Gallup leads, right? The other, I always lose count, like 15, we got to pick from a long list of questions that Gallup had. But they said, get it right this time, because if you change it, you can't benchmark it year over year, nor against your peers, right? So if we change the word, even if it's, I have a best friend only at work that only talks about certain things, then we can't benchmark it against anyone else to say, are we doing well? Because right now, what we get to do is we can look at other government agencies, not like one by one, but it puts us in a percentile to say, against your peers, you are doing really good or really bad with this one question, no matter the question. And so that's another reason why Gallup says we have to keep the words the same, but let people answer. Mm-hmm. No, you're okay. I want to say we make the joke all the time, but I'd rather it be a part of the language than not, right? Like even the department heads are like, best friend? Yes. Go ahead. Yeah, be nosy.
Okay, so word on the street is that when we did the gauge, that it was confidential, only certain people had access to it. Now, my question, and I heard that they had to come to you, your area, to actually, you couldn't print it off for them, but you could show it to them on the screen or whatever the case may be.
So that's only partially true. So thank you for that.
Repeating the question for the recording, she asked about the confidentiality and how the discrepancy between the kind of rumor being that certain leadership people have to come through us to see certain things and they can't be printed. So who did that and how did that, what were the reactions associated with that?
All leaders, all department heads, well, all division managers and above have access to Gallup, their results. So I can see everybody's results. Our 4 other administrators, which are 2 on my team, 2 are in HR, can see everybody's results. And then Craig and them can see everybody's results. But department heads can only see theirs. Division managers can only see theirs. They can't even see all of the departments. It's what's called a direct report or a roll-up report. So a direct report says, I can see the people that directly report to me if there's 4 or more answers. If there's not 4, so I don't get a report for my team because I have 2 people on my team. Even if they took it, there's no report for me. I cannot pull it. There's no way. But their results go to what's called the roll-up, which is the next level. Laura gets their results. That goes into her roll-up report. So that means that Jackie and Emma's results for Laura are gonna go into Chris's direct reports, Brent Bryant's direct reports, David Todd's direct reports, and David Miller's direct reports all go into what's called a roll-up now. So she doesn't know which 2 out of all those that I said are Jackie and Emma, but she does still get their feedback. For confidentiality, she cannot get theirs unless there are more than 4. And that's 4 that took the survey. So even if I had 4 people on my team, if only 3 took it, I don't get a direct report. I cannot get it. Even as an admin, I cannot get their report. Even if I made a custom team to try to cheat it, it will not give me their report. Department heads get to see that all day long. They can run it however they want to. They can go print whatever they want to print. This year, they have to come to our office to see their verbatim responses.
So your open text when you wrote words.
And that is to protect the confidentiality because they can't print it. If we print it, it becomes a record. And we want to protect y'all because unfortunately, people think that they're being slick, but how they write. If I know you write in all caps and you put it in all caps, I know it's you. Right? Or if you talk about this one instance where there were 2 people involved and you're being very explicit that you're one of the people, I know it's you. Or if you put names in it. Unfortunately, there are employees that feel that it is the time to say really mean things about other people. Comments on body image. We don't want that out there because really it's more of a reflection of that person than it is someone else. So it's really to say, let's try to get to what we're really trying to get here, and all this nasty stuff, like, that's not kind, right?
And all the department heads did come and read the results. To answer your first question.
Some of them are even bringing their division managers. They get to decide who they want to read the results. And sometimes, and I agree with them, they don't let everyone read them because if you said something really nasty about a division manager, just like body image or something like that, they're humans too. Like, we have to realize that leaders are people too. And so if that's the things that you're spending your time on, I don't think that they should be subjected to that either because that's hurtful. You know what I mean? But this year, they are wilding out. It's so awesome. Jackie just led a session on Monday where people came to our office and went through their results. Only if there's 4 or more.
And typically, department directors are, they are more enlightened than anything. They appreciate the feedback. They understand. Some of it is not new news for them, right? A lot of times, like I said, we move very slow in all areas, even from things that require coming to the horseshoe. So a lot of times they're like, okay, great, that is affirming, we're heading in that right direction, right? And I'm just thinking of you talking about responses or reactions. A lot of it was that, oh, okay, that is different, I need to look into that. Or I've heard that a few times where we need to update them and let them know what the status update is on that, right? So a lot of times that was what it was. So it varied, and all of it was centered around care and informative. And if they didn't know, they were planning on reaching out to figure out, get clarity. Like, there was care in just about every interaction. Reading it, I need to get my people here to read it. That's why we have division managers now reading them. So it really was folks taking notes and texting people right then to get clarity to get something fixed, right? And then it also hurt because they're like, oh, I want to fix this for this person right now, but they don't know that person. They don't know who said it. So, right, so it truly was, we sat there and we didn't sit with them, but we were around as they read, and a lot of it was just inquisitive and enlightenment. And that's why we have it annually, to answer that question, even if people don't have that question. If they were not getting this annually, they got it every 2 years, every 3 years, every 4 years, then they headed in one direction and they're getting it wrong for 3 or 4 years, that's a problem. So that's why we do it every year.
Gallup does a really good job. First of all, Gallup sometimes recommends you do it twice a year. And we're like, we're not doing it twice a year. But as the professionals, they say they have some clients that do at least pulse checks quarterly. So I promise you, we're doing us a favor by saying we're only going to do it annually, even though they are saying you could do it more often. And I know that we're at time. I'll say that something that Jackie just said, oh, man. Oh, with the annual thing. What I really love, to break it all down, is that Gallup explains it like it's like going to a doctor's appointment. Because we know that the day you took it, it is a snapshot of how you felt that day. Some days I'm going to walk in here and give it a 5. Some days I'm going to walk in here and give it a solid 2 or 3, right? And just like the doctor's office, when I go for my annual physical, that doesn't tell me what disease I may have, but it sure does tell the doctor there's a problem right here, look here. So some people will be like, this can't tell you anything. Why does these questions even blah, 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 blah. Totally respect it. But we wouldn't be doing half of the things that we're doing if it didn't say, hey, there's a problem here. We need leadership development, so we're going to start nuts and bolts, right? Hey, there's a problem here. We're not really recognizing our people, so we're going to do city's best. And please leave if you need to. So sorry. But I just want to put it like that a lot of people are like, I don't even know how they're getting anything. Gallup, we have been on such a journey, and we get a lot more than you think that we do. Change takes time. True, good, authentic, transformational change takes years, not minutes, even though I wish it could take minutes sometimes. Does that make sense? So please, even if you feel it's silly, just keep trying it. Just keep giving us a try. The promise for me is that it is confidential. And Gallup is very clear on saying confidential because it's not anonymous. They know who you are. And they're very clear with any of their clients, we're not getting sued to ever share those anyways. And we're like, appreciate you because we don't want to know who it is. So can Gallup know? Yes. Gallup can go right now and say, Jackie Howe said this. Gallup would never share that with us because they don't even want to get tied up in a lawsuit. They don't want nothing to do with that. And they want to continue to have integrity and be leaders in the organization, right? So please know that's why we use the word confidential, because we don't know who you are unless you go to the comment and say, my name is Jackie and I hate this place. Well, now we know Jackie hates this place, right? Anybody else have questions before we go? And if you need to sneak out, go ahead. Oh, I see what you're saying. So that's why. So we had a great example the other day. We had a division leader reach out and say, can you come sit with my team? It goes back to that snapshot. Leaders, and this is where we're taking responsibility with HR and my office to say we need a better equipped leaders to know how to have these conversations and ask these questions. Because we understand when it says my supervisor, people are like, who does that mean? And da-da-da-da-da. If we had those questions be too long, no one would take them. Imagine if this was a 50-question survey, and imagine if it was a 50-question survey that you had to do open text for. We've literally had employees say, you shouldn't have it on a 1 to 5. You should have us do open text on each one. So here's my open text. Here's the problem. I love y'all. I'm not asking my team to read over 100,000 comments. Could you imagine? We have almost 5,000 employees. Everybody sends over more than 20 questions. Our office can't do half of the stuff that we just told you that we're accomplishing because Jackie's somewhere in her office having to focus and see what column do we put this in. We will never do open text. Like some clients don't even do open text, but we said we have to at least give them one open text, right? I'm talking about clients that Gallup has. So I'm saying that to say, then the leaders are supposed to be coming to have those conversations to say, can you clarify? So whenever we went and had a conversation, for example, with Eugene, what they were very clear on is we don't feel anything that's malintent or like bad, we don't feel it about our leader. He's a phenomenal leader. We feel that senior leadership doesn't listen to us. We feel that X, Y, Z. Those are the conversations we're supposed to be having because this can't tell us everything. It's literally like our annual blood panel at the doctor's office. Does that make sense? And I know these are long-winded, but it's like year 3. If we're in year 3 and people still asking these questions, I can take on the responsibility that we have not communicated it well enough to y'all. So I want to be able to be really, really clear so that people feel really good about why we're doing this and why it's important. And even if you get mad and people are like, well, it doesn't matter anymore, I'm going to be honest, and they said it on the town hall. Who got to watch the town hall? please go watch the town hall. Please go watch the town hall. Gallup did a phenomenal job. Gallup and Craig did a phenomenal job at being really transparent, really to let y'all under the rug, to say, like, this is where we're getting it wrong, and this is where we're getting it right, and this is what we really want to focus on. And I say that because we're really, really clear that in a number of the things that we're getting wrong is going to take a really long time to fix, even if, like Jackie said, it's because money is involved and it has to go to council. But Craig and them are committed to doing that so that it is sustainable and great change. And one of the things that we know is that 25% of our employees do not believe anything's going to happen. And Gallup raised that flag. Gallup said it on the town hall, and Andy, so he also said it in a meeting with us, a leadership meeting. It was over 100 leaders in the room, the people that are responsible for action planning. And he said, it is a problem that 1 in 4 of your employees do not believe that anything's going to happen. That's a problem. And that registered for Craig. If y'all know Craig, that man is an empathetic, amazing, compassionate man. And he's like, we have to do something. Now, that something may not be the something that you felt you needed this year. Keep saying it. Because while we care about what everyone says, y'all, there's 5,000 needs in the city. Literally every human has a different need. Keep saying it. Keep giving us ones. I've had someone be like, y'all just want all 5s. No, we don't, because that's not true. To get 5,000 people to love this place every single day, we would know that something is broken if everybody put all 5s. What we want is the truth, so that if we don't know something about it, if we don't know about something, we can't do something about it. And we can't snap our fingers as much as I wish that we could. Like, if we could snap our fingers and tap, I would just be walking around here and change would just be happening everywhere. But we do have to have those hard conversations, and that's what we're doing right now. So I'll wrap it up with what's really cool about this year is a few things. We brought Gallup in. Usually, there's been one time I was in person, but it was different. They usually meet to debrief the results with just the department head. Well, this year we went to the convention center and had all people that are responsible for action planning were invited to come and hear from Gallup. That changes the tone because you're hearing from Gallup how to read these results and what's your responsibility to fix it. The 1 in 4 that don't believe something's going to be done was not just saying that to Craig. They were saying that to their leaders as well, right? But also, in the past, when we did action planning, we would hop on a Teams and, Gallup would say, okay, this is how you do an action plan, and then everybody's supposed to just go do great action plans. Gallup is coming back. He's local. We have a local representative now. He's coming back. All of those same leaders are coming to the convention center November 15th, and we're literally having an action planning workshop to say, what action plans can we actually do that are really going to drive change outside of we're going to buy pizza for our people? You understand what I'm saying? Like, how do we really make impactful changes, even if some departments, pizza is the thing. They're like, recognize us more, right? But a lot of the departments are like, we don't want your pizza before we feel like you care about us as individuals. So we're 7 minutes over. I want to honor y'all's time. We are accessible. If y'all want to stick around and ask questions, throw tomatoes, email us, do whatever. But hopefully y'all learn more about our department. Can we say that? Yeah, thank y'all. And if you see a black ring, it's mine. It's mine.